We have had a request for more passages at higher speeds. This one has been written with two aims in mind. Firstly, to provide 2 minutes at 150 words per minute, 300 words. Secondly, to add an extra 100 words and make it into a traditional 100 word per minute mock exam. But not the NCTJ traditional type of exam. The skeleton does remain the same, i.e. 2 minutes, 30-second break, 1 minute, and then a final minute with a quote. But the content is very different. In fact, the content is aimed at revising a particular piece of theory. There's a high predominance in this passage of words with a consonant BL in the middle. And we write the large circle for B, and then we write the L with the same motion. So let's look at the words that employ this part of the theory. So the name of the village here, the fictitious name of course, is Humbleton. So we write the H and the M, the big circle for B, so the L will go upwards, the T is disjoined and blended in with the N. The root word of that, humble, is HM, again the big circle for B and the L going upwards. Now brambles, so it's got a BR blend, so we write the B, the M goes inside the B to denote the inclusion of the R, then the big circle for B, the L goes upwards and the S inside the curve. Bumbling, so BM, big circle for B, again L going upwards and the disjoined I for ing, written in a downwards direction. Jumble, exactly the same principle, JM, big circle for B, L going upwards. Stumble, STM, big circle for B, L going upwards. Mumbles, MM, big circle for B, L going upwards, S inside the curve. Mumbling, 2 M's, big circle for B, L going upwards, disjoined I for ing, written in a downwards direction. Crumble, CR comes together here, so we think about the story of Cruella from the beginner's series. We write the C, the M goes inside the C to denote the inclusion of the R, big circle for B, and L goes upwards. When we change that to crumbled, of course, the final D is disjoined after the upstroke, after the upward L. Grumbles, think about Grace here in our story, GR blend. So we write the G, we put the M inside the G to denote the inclusion of the R, so GRM, big circle for B, L goes upwards, S inside the curve of the L to make grumbles. When we change that to grumbled, we do exactly the same apart from that final S and we disjoin the D. Grumbling, we disjoin the ing, written in a downwards direction. In rumble, I like to include the U indicator so that we can see where the R ends and the M begins. However, if you are happy to just write the R and the M without the U indicator, of course you may do so. And tumbled, starting on the T line of course, TM, big circle for B, the L goes upwards and the D is disjoined. Now let's look at other theory in this passage. There's a high predominance also of words that employ the doubling principle. Remember, there are 3 consonants that we double to add R. The 2 straight strokes, T and D, to make TR and DR, and the 3 curves, MR, WR and LR. The words here that employ that doubling principle are streets, pastries with the S outside the angle, remember, market, where we change the K to a C for speed, started, trees, If we'd written tree, it would have the E indicator at the end, but when we change it to the plural, trees, there's no need for that E indicator because it's no longer a finally sounded vowel. It has the S at the end. Tried. Note the big difference there between the double length T and the single length D. Gather. Remember that TR blend also says THR, so that outline could say gutter or gather. Were, the W doubled for R. Scattered, back to the T doubles for R. Treats. Laughter. Remember the GH says F, so we'll write the F. Distributed, all words that begin with D will start on the line. Don't worry about the fact that the B has got to come below the line. Large, L doubles for R and G. Memorable. Here we've also got a word ending, the able. Words that end in able have the disjoined A written in full at the end. This will also be included in the next section. Camaraderie. You've got the CM blend. I would include the A indicator before the R so that you can see it clearly. The D doubles for R and I to end the word. Tremendously. Here we kick the L out of it and we write tremendously. Strength. Ing, ang, ong, ung. And here we've got an eng in the middle. The next section of words included in this passage are words that employ word endings. The first one is cobblestone. Now if we were writing cobble, we would write the full O after the C to make obble. If it had been ubble, it would be the full U. Ebble, it would be the full E, and so on. So in cobblestone, after you've disjoined the full O, you would add on the TN. In other words, the O of obble could also serve as the S of stone. If you're not a fan of that outline, you could write cobble and then you could write STN at the side of it to make stone. The next word is affectionately, and here we've got the shun disjoined. So we write AFC, then the disjoined N for shun, then the T and the I written downwards because we kick the L out of words that end in ly. The next one, delectable. So you've got the disjoined A for able. Humility. So words that end in litty can be written with the L disjoined close to the outline, of course. So it's HM for hum, or hume in this case, and then disjoined L written upwards for ility. Supplemented, you've got your disjoined M for meant here in the middle of the word. So S, PL blend, disjoined M for meant, and then add the D to change supplement into supplemented. Next we have one that was in the list beforehand, employing the doubling principle. It also employs a word ending, and that word is memorable. So a single M, a doubled M to add MR, and then that disjoined A for able, memorable. Occasion, so O with the C on the line. Remember, we don't put babies on the floor, OC. And then the N disjoined on the T line for shun, occasion. And finally, double on its own. So D with the disjoined O for obble to make that word double. Before we had it in cobble, here it's double. Let us start with the fulfilment of that promise to deliver a passage at a higher speed. This one, of course, being 2 minutes at 150. Because it's not in the tradition of NCTJ exams, it will, of course, feel much faster. Here we go. Ready? In the quiet village of Humbleton, where the cobblestone streets whispered tales of a humble past, there lived a bumbling baker. The residents affectionately called him Jumble Joe. Every morning he would stumble out of his quaint cottage, mumbling a cheerful tune as he prepared to bake his famous apple crumble. The aroma of fresh baking would waft through the air, causing the townsfolk to queue for their orders, grumbling at the length of the wait. One day, as Jumble Joe was carrying a tray of his delectable pastries to the local market, he began to stumble and slip on a pile of wet leaves. With a gentle rumble, the tray started to slide and the pastries tumbled to the ground. Joe's cheerful mumbles turned into apologetic grumbles as he tried to gather up the scattered treats. Despite the little mishap, the villagers, known for their humility, gathered to help Jumble Joe. With a shared sense of camaraderie, they managed to turn the unfortunate event into a joyful and memorable occasion, creating a makeshift picnic with the crumbled pastries and other baking. Even the dogs in the village were fed, and the birds enjoyed the crumbs left on the ground. Then they picked blackberries from the brambles, more apples from the trees, and Joe supplemented the produce with blackberry and apple pie. Laughter filled the air, and the humble village of Humbleton once again showcased the strength found in the bonds of a community that refused to stumble in the face of Joe's jumbled situations. They whipped double cream, then distributed the bowls and spoons, and everyone sat down to a large helping of Joe's famous and delicious apple crumble. The apple and blackberry pies still hot from the oven. It was really tasty, and as usual, everyone enjoyed it tremendously. If you enjoyed this exam practice, please click like and remember to subscribe so that you will receive notifications when others are added. Good job. Let's love T-line together.